The judge tilted his glasses down and looked at the screenshot I'd handed him. On the projector behind him, blown up for the whole courtroom to see, was my best friend's Instagram story from 6 months earlier. A boomerang of her clinking red Solo cups with 2 other girls in my living room. My couch. My cheap little coffee table from IKEA. Across the bottom, in neon pink letters, she'd added, "Living rent-free in my bestie's place is a mood." Sparkle smiling, the judge raised one eyebrow and turned to her. "Ms. Dawson," he said, "is this you?" Megan squirmed in her seat. "Yes," she muttered. "And this is the plaintiff's apartment?" he asked, gesturing at me. She hesitated. "It's her old apartment," she said. "But she said I could crash there for 6 months?" He cut in. "While she continued to pay the rent, utilities, and damages from your parties." He looked back at the screenshot, then at my itemized spreadsheet. "Yeah," he said, signing the form. "I think we're done here." He banged his gavel. "Judgment for the plaintiff," he said. "In the amount of $5,412 plus court costs." Megan gasped. I sat there, my heart pounding, as the bailiff handed me the paperwork. I hadn't just lost a best friend. I'd finally made her pay for every month she secretly lived my life while I was off trying to build a future. "My name is Lily. I'm 21, from a small town in Missouri, and I thought I knew what betrayal was. I thought betrayal was when my high school boyfriend cheated on me with the girl from band camp. I was wrong. Real betrayal is coming home from college to the apartment you've been paying for all, and realizing your best friend has been living in it the whole time without telling you. Throwing parties, hosting her Tinder dates, charging her other friends rent to crash there. All while sending you texts like, 'Miss you. How's campus life? Everything okay with the apartment? I checked your mail. Let me rewind.' Growing up, it was me and Megan against the world. We met in 5th grade when we were assigned to share a desk. I was the quiet new kid with thrift store clothes and a permanent library fine. She was the loud girl with neon shoelaces and a knack for making teachers laugh so they forgot to give homework. By middle school, we were inseparable. Sleepovers every weekend. Inside jokes. Matching friendship bracelets we bought at the mall for $5. Her parents fought a lot, so she spent more and more time at my house. My mom called her our extra daughter. My dad joked that we came as a set. We planned our futures together. "In college, we're totally going to room together," she'd say, sprawled on my bed with a face mask on. "Obviously," I'd reply. "You, me, some crappy apartment, and a cat that hates us." Reality, of course, had other plans. Senior year, my grades were good enough for me to get a scholarship to State U 3 hours away. Megan's weren't. She barely graduated. College wasn't really on the table for her. Money at home was tight, and she'd never clicked with school the way I had. Instead, she got a job at a local coffee shop and started talking about moving out of her parents' place. "I just need to get out of that house," she said one night, staring at the ceiling in my room. "Even a crappy studio would be better than listening to Mom and Doug scream at each other every night." "You could stay with us for a bit," I said. "My parents wouldn't mind." She shook her head. "I don't want to be a charity case," she said. "I'll figure it out." I promised I'd help however I could. I didn't realize however I could would one day include taking her to court. The summer after graduation, I got my first real taste of independence. My scholarship covered tuition and partial housing, but dorms at State were still insanely expensive. So I made a deal. I'd spend my freshman year doing general ed at the community college in our town, then transfer to State as a sophomore. That way, I could live at home for a year and save. But after 2 months of my dad's 9 p.m. lights out lectures and my little brother blasting video games, I knew I needed my own place to study. So I did something terrifying and thrilling. I signed a lease. It was a tiny 1-bedroom apartment downtown, above a nail salon, and next to a laundromat that rattled the walls twice a week. The rent was $750 a month, huge to me, but doable if I worked enough shifts at the grocery store and picked up tutoring gigs. My parents co-signed, but the deal was clear. The rent was my responsibility. When I got the keys, Megan was the first person I called. "Come over," I said. "You have to see this palace of my dreams and debts." We sat on the floor in the empty living room, eating pizza straight from the box. "You did it," she said, grinning. "You're a real adult now." "You could be too," I said. "Once you get some savings, we could split a place." She made a face. I can't afford half of this, she said, gesturing around. I make like $11 an hour. Tips are trash. Maybe after you leave for state, I'll take over your lease. It was a joke. Kind of. We laughed. But the idea lodged itself somewhere in the back of both our minds. My first year of community college flew by. I worked. I studied. I lived alone for the first time, which was equal parts amazing and lonely. Megan crashed on my couch a lot. Sometimes for a night after a fight with her mom. Sometimes for a week until things cooled down. I didn't mind. She'd wash the dishes, leave me coffee, and send me memes at 2 a.m. from the other side of my thin bedroom wall. When I got my acceptance letter to state for sophomore year, she was as excited as my parents. You're gonna kill it, she said, hugging me so tight my ribs popped. I'll visit all the time. You'll hate me by Thanksgiving. There was just one problem, my lease. It didn't end until next May. My start date at state was late August. The landlord, a grumpy guy named Mr. Nolan who smelled like cigarettes and printer ink, said I could break the lease for a $2,000 penalty. We're already heading into the slow season, he said. College kids are settled. Not my problem you want to bail early. $2,000 might as well have been $2 million. I cried in my car in the parking lot. When I told my parents, they winced. We can help with a little, Mom said. But we can't cover all that and your dorm deposit. We brainstormed. Subletting wasn't allowed per the lease. Just keep it, Dad suggested. Pay the rent until May. Use it as your place to crash when you come home for breaks. That's $6,000, I said. For a glorified storage unit. It's either that or the penalty, he said. At least this way you're getting something for your money. I went with the least bad option. I'd keep the apartment. It would suck, but between my summer savings, financial aid refund, and part-time job on campus, I could just barely swing 2 rents for a year. When Megan heard, she looked horrified. Dude, she said. You can't afford that. I don't have a choice, I said. She chewed her lip. Well, she said slowly. If you need someone to, check on the place while you're gone, I could. Make sure nobody breaks in. Water the plants, grab your mail. My shoulders dropped in relief. Would you? I said. That would be amazing. I'll leave you a key. She smiled. Of course, she said. What are best friends for? Before I left for state, I handed her the spare key over pancakes at our favorite diner. It's mostly for emergencies, I said. You can crash there if things get bad with your mom, obviously. But please don't, move in or anything. I can't risk Nolan finding out. Relax, she said, laughing. I'm not trying to get you evicted. I've got my couch at home, remember? She squeezed my hand. I got you, she added. Your place is safe with me. I believed her. Of course I did. We'd shared everything since 5th grade: secrets, clothes, homework, heartbreaks. I didn't think to get anything in writing. College was a whirlwind. State's campus was huge and overwhelming, and exactly what I'd dreamed of. I had classes with actual tenured professors, not just exhausted adjuncts. I joined the campus newspaper. I made new friends who argued about politics and books instead of who posted whose selfie first. I missed home. I missed Megan. But we texted every day. She'd send photos of my mailbox stuffed with junk mail and the occasional paycheck I'd forgotten to change the address for. Your plant is still alive, she'd write. I am now a plant mom. Respect me. When I came home for fall break in October, I drove straight from campus to the apartment. I hadn't been there in 2 months. I unlocked the door, heart weirdly fluttery, like I was visiting a version of myself I'd outgrown. The place looked, not dramatically, just lived in. My thrift store couch had a bright new throw blanket on it I didn't recognize. There was a pair of Converse by the door that weren't mine. An unfamiliar mug in the sink. I heard the shower running. Megan? I called. The bathroom door opened a crack. Oh my God, she squealed, peeking out, wrapped in my pink towel. You're early. She shut the door again. A minute later she emerged, hair dripping, tugging my oversized hoodie over her tank top. I thought you were coming tomorrow, she said, flustered. I was just taking a quick shower before my shift. It's fine, I said, forcing a smile. I just didn't expect anyone to be here. She laughed. Where else would I shower, she said. My mom's bathroom is a war zone. Plus, I figured you wouldn't mind me using your water once in a while. I've been checking on the place, like I promised. I glanced around again. There was a second toothbrush in the holder, 2 extra hoodies draped over the back of a chair, a duffel bag by the couch. You've been here a lot, huh? I said carefully. She waved a hand. It's just my crash pad, she said. I sleep here on nights when things get bad at home. You said that was okay. Had I? Kind of. Yeah, I said slowly. Just be careful with noise and stuff. Nolan's nosy. She rolled her eyes. I'm not throwing Raegers, she said. It's just me and Netflix. Chill. I let it go. We spent the weekend like old times, movies, snacks, gossip. She asked a million questions about campus. The first tried not to sound like I was bragging. When I drove back to State Sunday night, the apartment looked like it had when I arrived, except for the faint smell of her shampoo in the bathroom. I told myself I was being paranoid. I had no idea that while I was stressing about midterms, she was moving her entire life into my living room. Red flag number 1 was the electric bill. In September, it had been around $35 low, because nobody was there most of the time. In October, it jumped to $90. In November, it hit $120. Same with water. I stared at the online statements, frowning. I called Megan. Hey, I said. We need to talk about the utilities. Oh yeah, sorry, she said quickly. I've been forgetting to turn the AC off when I leave. I'll be more careful. It's November, I said. The AC shouldn't be on at all. She laughed. You know what I mean, she said. I'll keep an eye on it. I can throw you some cash next paycheck too. Things have just been tight. I wanted to push harder. But freshman year had taught me one thing. Conflict exhaustion is real. Between group projects, roommate drama, and professors who thought their class was the only one you had, I didn't have energy left for a fight with my best friend over an electric bill. Okay, I said. Just, please try. I got you, she said. Love you too, I replied automatically. Red flag number 2 came from Nolan. He called me one afternoon in November while I was in the library. Hey Lily, he said. Everything okay at the apartment? I think so, I said. Why? We've had some noise complaints, he said. Late night music, people coming in and out. And your neighbor downstairs mentioned she thought you'd moved back in with a roommate? My stomach dropped. A roommate? I repeated. Yeah, he said. A girl. Brown hair. Nose ring. I think her name was Megan? She said she's your cousin. My pulse thudded in my ears. She's not my cousin, I said. She's my friend. And she's just supposed to be checking on the place, not living there. There was a long pause. Well, she's definitely there a lot, he said. Look, I don't care who stays over sometimes. But we don't allow full-time additional occupants without being on the lease. Insurance reasons. I understand, I said. I'll talk to her. We hung up. I sat there, staring at my phone. Part of me wanted to drive home that second and see for myself. Another part kept hearing Megan's voice. You said I could crash when things got bad. I don't want to be a charity case. I told myself there had to be some misunderstanding. Maybe the neighbor had exaggerated. Maybe Megan had joked about being my cousin to avoid landlord weirdness. Maybe then I opened Instagram. I wasn't even looking for proof. I was just doom scrolling, procrastinating on an essay. Then Megan's story popped up. At first it was nothing suspicious. A boomerang of latte art at her coffee shop job. A meme about being tired. A selfie with a glitter filter. Then a video. 3 girls in a living room laughing, music loud. I almost skipped past it. Then I noticed the poster on the wall behind them. A cheap print of a Van Gogh painting I'd picked up at a thrift store freshman year. The camera panned. My IKEA bookcase. My ugly blue rug. My string lights. I turned the sound on. Housewarming. Megan's voice yelled. Shout out to my bestie for letting me crash at her place till I can get back on my feet. Living rent-free is the vibe. One of the other girls shouted. We love a generous queen. They all cheered. My chest went cold. I watched it again. And again. The caption underneath. New chapter. New home. Same chaos. #blast. There it was. Proof. She wasn't just crashing occasionally. She had moved in. Publicly. Bragging about living rent-free. At my expense. I took a screenshot and texted it to her. We need to talk. No response. I waited 15 minutes. Then 30. My head spun with possibilities. Maybe she was drunk and would apologize tomorrow. Maybe she'd offer to pay. Maybe she finally replied an hour later. OMG, sorry, it's so loud here. What's up? I stared at the screen. Not there. Saw your story. Thought you were just crashing sometimes? 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Yeah, I mean, I've been staying here more. Things at home suck. I figured since you're never here and you're paying anyway, it's no big deal. I was gonna talk to you about chipping in when I get my tax refund. I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles hurt. That's not how this works, Meg. I'm paying a double rent I can barely afford so I can have a place to come home to. I never said you could move in permanently. No one thinks you live there now. Chill. I told him I was your cousin so he wouldn't bother you. I'm helping. I actually laughed. A short, bitter sound in the silent library. You're helping yourself. You've been throwing parties? Neighbors complained. My utilities tripled. You're literally posting living rent-free online. A long pause. Wow, okay. Didn't expect you to throw that in my face. I thought we were family. Family. The word twisted like a knife. Family doesn't secretly move into your apartment and let you find out on Instagram. We're going to figure this out when I'm home for winter break. In the meantime, stop having people over. And send me $1 for utilities like you said. She sent $50 on Venmo that night with the memo for my lavish showers face with tears of joy. It covered about half of the last month's water and none of the electricity. I wanted to scream. Instead, I opened a new note on my phone and wrote, Evidence apartment, then I pasted the screenshot of her story under it. I didn't know exactly what I was building yet. But some part of me knew. This wasn't going to be fixed by a half-assed Venmo transaction and am I bad. Winter break was tense. I showed up a day earlier than I'd told her. Partly to catch her off guard. Partly because finals had fried my brain and I missed my own bed. I unlocked the door quietly and stepped inside. The apartment didn't just look lived in. It looked like it had been claimed. My thrift store coffee table was covered in nail polish bottles and makeup. A pile of clothes I didn't recognize sat in the corner. There were framed photos on the walls that weren't mine. Megan with random people at parties. Megan at the lake. Megan making a heart with her hands over a pumpkin spice latte. On the fridge, a calendar had rent due paid written in January and February squares. Only it was in Megan's handwriting. I checked the bedroom. My bed was unmade. 2 sets of pillows. A hoodie that wasn't mine draped over the chair. An extra phone charger by the outlet. My dresser drawers were half open, my clothes shoved aside to make room for more hoodies and jeans that weren't mine. My chest tightened. I heard a key in the lock. Megan walked in, earbuds in, humming. She froze when she saw me. Ow, she said, yanking her earbuds out. You're early. Apparently we both live here now, I said. She flinched. Look, she said, dropping her bag. I can explain. Please, I said. Explain how you moved into my apartment without telling me and started throwing housewarmings while I pay all the bills. Her jaw tightened. You make it sound so bad, she said. Things at home got unbearable, Lil. Doug smashed a plate and it scared my little brother. Mom told me to leave if I didn't like it. Where was I supposed to go? You could have asked, I said. We could have worked out actual rent. Rules. Boundaries. You would have said no, she snapped. You're always stressed about money. Because I'm paying for a place I'm not living in, I said, voice shaking. Because I'm working 2 jobs and taking a full course load while you play house in my living room. That's not fair, she said. I'm working too. You think coffee shop jobs are easy? And I am paying, in my own way. I clean up. I keep Nolan off your back. I water your stupid plant, my stupid plant, I repeated. This isn't about the plant, Megan. It's about respect. You didn't respect me enough to tell me the truth. She crossed her arms. I thought you'd be happy someone you love was getting use out of it instead of it sitting empty, she said. What, you'd rather some random stranger rent it? At least a stranger would sign a lease, I said. At least a stranger wouldn't call me selfish for being upset they're living off me. She rolled her eyes. God, you're being dramatic, she said. It's not like I'm costing you extra. You'd be paying the same rent either way. Utilities, I said. wear and tear, noise complaints, and you are costing me extra in stress. So what do you want? She shot back. For me to leave? Go back to my screaming parents? Sleep in my car? You're really going to do that to me? Guilt punched me in the gut. She knew exactly how to aim it. We can figure out a transition, I said weakly. You can stay till the lease is up in May if you actually pay half of everything. And no more parties. No more random staying over. She snorted. That's like 4 months, she said. Who's going to sign a brand new lease for 4 months these days? You're basically asking me to be homeless. I'm asking you to be honest, I said. And to pay your share like an adult. She stared at me for a long moment. Fine, she said finally. Half. I'll Venmo you, but I'm not changing my whole life because you suddenly feel weird about something you already said was okay. I never said. She walked past me. I need to get ready for work, she said. We'll talk about this later. Spoiler, we didn't. She forgot to send money. Or sent $20 here, $30 there. She had an emergency vet bill, car trouble. My mom borrowed from me and didn't pay back. Every conversation turned into her crying about her childhood and me feeling like a monster for bringing up utilities while she barely had enough for groceries. Meanwhile, my credit card balance crept up. I skipped going out with friends to cover our MI rent. Every time I considered putting my foot down, that little voice whispered, "She has nowhere else. You're her safe place. Don't be like her mom. Don't abandon her." I let it go. Until I couldn't. The thing about people who take advantage of you is that they rarely stop on their own. They push until something stops them. Sometimes that something is a person. Sometimes it's a bill. In our case, it was both. In March, my financial aid refund was late. A paperwork glitch. I'd been counting on that money for my April rent at school and for the apartment back home. When I realized it wouldn't hit in time, I panicked. I called Nolan hat in hand. "Mr. Nolan, my aid is delayed a week," I said. "Can I pay the April rent a little late? Just this once? I've never been late before." He sighed. "You're a good tenant, Lily," he said. "But I've got to pay my mortgage on time. Late fees from you mean late fees for me." "I understand," I said, stomach churning. "I'm just stuck." Pause. "Well," he said slowly, "your roommate already paid half." I blinked. "My roommate?" I said. "Megan," he said. "She dropped off $400 in cash this morning and said it was her half of next month's rent. I assumed you two had worked it out." I stared at the wall. She'd paid him. But not me. "Yeah," I said tightly. "We did. I hung up and immediately called her. No answer. I texted. "Nolan says you paid him half the rent? Why didn't you send it to me like we agreed?" No answer. An hour later, I got a text from an unknown number. "Hey, this is Danny. I'm Megan's friend. She said you were asking about rent? Just so you know, we've been paying her $300 each to stay there since January. Didn't realize you didn't know." My vision tunneled. My fingers flew over the keyboard. Me plus Kelsey. Bunk beds in the bedroom, lol. Megan said it was her place but that her name wasn't on the lease, so we had to pay her in cash/Venmo. Is that not true? There it was. Not only had Megan moved into my apartment without permission, she'd turned it into a mini dorm and become a landlord, charging 2 other girls $300 each while I paid the actual rent. I felt like I'd swallowed a live wasp. "How long have you been there?" I typed. "Since January. I only just moved in, but Kelsey was there a bit before." Megan said her roomie, I guess, was living at school and amp cool with it. A screenshot arrived. Megan's text welcoming Danny. "Welcome to Casa Megan. My roommate is chill and amp, never here. Just don't post the address online, lol. Just don't post the address online." So that was her line. She knew what she was doing was wrong. I thanked Danny and told her I needed to talk to Megan. Then I opened my evidence apartment note and started adding screenshots from Danny. Venmo receipts Danny forwarded showing payments labeled rent. Nolan confirming Megan had paid half. Photos from my last visit with Megan's stuff everywhere. The picture was clear. For at least 3 months, Megan had been running an under-the-table sublet operation from my apartment, collecting $900 a month from Danny and Kelsey, giving Nolan $400, pocketing the rest. While I covered utilities, repairs, and my own rent at state. I wasn't just being taken advantage of. I was being scammed. By my best friend. Something in me finally snapped. The guilt. The hesitation. The but she had a hard childhood excuses. They all burned up. What was left was cold, sharp focus. I wasn't going to be her safety net anymore. I was going to be the bill she didn't expect. I called my lawyer cousin Sam. He's not a full-blown attorney yet, but he's in law school and loves talking about contracts over Thanksgiving turkey. I laid everything out. The lease is in my name, I said. The utilities are in my name. She moved in without permission, sublet rooms without permission, and has basically been making a profit off my apartment while I'm 200 miles away. Do you have proof she knew it was against the lease? I quoted her text. Just don't post the address online LOLA. That helps, he said. But this is mostly a civil thing between you two. Landlord could go after both of you for breaching the lease. My stomach flipped. I don't want to get evicted, I said. Or sued. I just want my money back. Well, he said, you've got a few options. Kick her out and eat the loss. Or demand repayment and, if she refuses, take her to small claims court. Based on what you've told me, a judge would probably see this as unjust enrichment. She benefited financially using your property without compensation. Would I have to sue my best friend? I asked. He sighed. Ask yourself this, he said. Is she acting like your best friend right now? She was acting like a landlord who didn't want her tenant to know who really owned the building. Step 1 of my plan was boring but necessary. Talk to Nolan. I made an appointment at his office the next time I was home. He sat behind his cluttered desk, flipping through a rent ledger. Look, I said, I need to explain what's been going on. I told him about Megan. About Danny and Kelsey. The sublets. The parties. His scowl got deeper with every sentence. So I'm clear, he said. You didn't authorize any of this? No, I said firmly. I told her she could check on the place and crash occasionally. I never said she could move in permanently or bring in other people. I only found out about the roommates last week. He rubbed his forehead. I should evict all of you, he muttered. Unauthorized occupants, subletting. This is exactly why I hate renting to young people. I understand, I said. But the lease ends in May. That's 6 weeks away. If we can just ride it out, I'll make sure everyone's out and the place is spotless. I'll even give up half my deposit if there's damage. He eyed me. Why should I trust you? He asked. Because I'm the only one who's been paying you on time, I said. And because I'm the one who came clean. I'm also planning to go after Megan for what she owes me. If you're willing to sign a statement confirming the dates she's been there and the complaints you've gotten, that would help. He hesitated. Then he sighed. Fine, he said. You've been a good tenant overall. I'll let the lease run its course. But everyone out by May 31st. No exceptions. I'll sign whatever statement you need. He grabbed a pad and started writing. I exhaled. Step 1, landlord on my side. Step 2, documentation. I sat down that night with my laptop and a calculator. From January through May, rent, 750 x 5 equals 3,750 average utilities, electric, water, internet. About 140/month x 5 equals $700 total cost to keep that apartment for those 5 months. 4,450. During that time, Megan had collected $900/month from Danny and Kelsey. x 5 equals $4,500 paid Nolan. $400 the one time he'd mentioned, plus whatever cash she'd slipped him without telling me. He said a couple of times, totaling maybe $800. Even being generous and assuming she'd given him $1,200 over those months, that meant she'd pocketed around $3,300. While I footed the rest of the bill plus earlier months when she'd been alone there. If I added October, November, and December when she'd essentially been living there solo, jacking up utilities, my rough calculation of Megan's share for the full academic year was half the total rent. Since she'd effectively replaced me as occupant for at least half the time, half the utilities she'd used plus damages, a broken lamp, stained rug, and an extra cleaning fee Nolan warned me about, all told, my spreadsheet landed at $5,412. A number burned into my brain. That was my target. Every penny. Step 3, confrontation. The next time I went to the apartment, I didn't go alone. I brought Ethan, not my brother from the earlier stories, just my big cousin who lifts and likes to loom. Do you think this is necessary? He asked as we walked up the stairs. Yes, I said. Last time I came alone, she turned it into a pity party. I need a witness who isn't emotionally manipulated by her tears. He nodded. We stepped inside. Megan and Danny were on the couch, watching Netflix. Kelsey was in the kitchen, her laptop open. They all jumped. What's he doing here? Megan asked, eyes darting to Ethan. He's here to make sure this stays civil, I said. We need to talk, alone. Danny and Kelsey exchanged glances. I'll go to Starbucks, Danny said, grabbing her bag. Me too, Kelsey said. Text me if I still live here later. The door closed behind them. Megan crossed her arms. If you're here to lecture me again, she began. I'm here to settle up, I said. I pulled out a folder and laid it on the coffee table. Inside, printed screenshots, my spreadsheet, Nolan's signed statement. She looked at the stack, then at me. What is this? She asked. This, I said, is a record of 9 months' worth of rent and utilities I've paid on a place you've been secretly living in. Plus the money you've collected from Danny and Kelsey. Plus the difference between what you gave Nolan and what you should have been contributing. Her eyes flashed. I told you I was gonna help when I could, she said. I gave Nolan money. Once, I said. And maybe a few times more. Meanwhile, you've made over $3,000 literally living off me and turning my apartment into your side hustle. She laughed, incredulous. Wow, she said. You really did the math on betraying me. You betrayed me, I said, voice shaking. You took advantage of me. You lied. You profited off my back while I was killing myself at school thinking we were in this together. Her face hardened. What do you want? She said. I want you to pay what you owe, I said. Here's the breakdown. I slid the spreadsheet toward her. $5,412, I said. You can pay in installments if you need to. But I want a written plan. And I want you out by the end of the lease. Her jaw dropped. 5,000, are you out of your mind? She said. I don't have that kind of money. Should have thought of that before you started playing landlord, I said. She pushed the papers away. I'm not signing anything, she said. I'm not paying. If you didn't want me here, you should have said no from the start. You don't get to change your mind and charge me retroactively because you feel guilty now. I said you could crash, I said. Not that you could move in, bring in roommates, and make money off my lease. That's not how I remember it, she said flatly. Good thing the judge will have texts and screenshots to refresh your memory, I replied. Her eyes narrowed. You wouldn't, she said. You're not seriously going to take me to court over this. You're the one who taught me that people only stop when they hit a wall, I said. Consider this your warning. You have 2 options, sign a repayment plan, or I file in small claims court and let a judge decide. She stared at me for a long, tense moment. Then she laughed. Fine, she said. Do it. Sue me. I'll tell them you let me live here. That you felt bad and said it was fine. It'll be your word against mine. Plus your Instagram, I said. And Danny's messages about paying you rent. And Nolan's statement. And your own text whining about living rent-free. Her face went pale. You screenshotted that? She whispered. I screenshotted everything, I said. Because apparently, I'm the only one in this friendship who understands receipts. Ethan shifted his weight, the floor creaking. Megan's eyes flicked to him, then back to me. You're really not going to let this go, she said. No, I said. For once I'm not. She grabbed her bag. Then get the hell out of your apartment, she spat. I have to pack. I nodded. We'll be out by the end of the week, I said. I'll send you the court papers. Filing for small claims was surprisingly easy. Emotionally brutal, but logistically simple. I went to the county clerk's office, filled out a form, paid a filing fee, and listed unpaid rent and utilities/unjust enrichment as my claim. I attached my spreadsheet and copies of the most important screenshots. A week later, Megan was served at work. How do I know? Because she posted about it. When your OWN best friend sues you instead of helping you when you're down upside down, face fake people everywhere. I didn't respond. Her friends DM'd me. How could you? She's been through so much, you're really taking her to court over bills. I sent a single reply to all of them. She secretly lived in my apartment for 9 months, sublet it to 2 people behind my back, and made thousands while I paid all the bills. I'm just asking for what she owes. Some of them went quiet. A few even said, "Oh yeah, that's messed up." Megan tried to get me to drop it. She called, left messages crying, saying she'd be blacklisted from apartments if she got a judgment. I felt bad. Of course I did. But every time I wavered, I opened my bank app and looked at my nearly maxed out credit card. Or my evidence folder. And I remembered crying over my laptop trying to figure out how to juggle tuition and 2 rents while she clinked solo cups in my living room. We went to court. I wore the most professional outfit I owned. Slacks, a blazer borrowed from my roommate, and the calmest expression I could muster. Megan showed up in ripped jeans and a hoodie that said nope. The judge read our filings, asked us to tell our sides, and looked more and more unimpressed with her as she went on. "I thought we were family," she said at one point, tears in her eyes. "I thought she wanted to help. We never talked about money like that. She's just mad I have more friends now." The judge held up the screenshot of her living rent-free story. "Ms. Dawson," he said, "do you understand what the phrase rent-free generally means?" She flushed. "I was joking," she said weakly. He turned to me. "Ms. Turner," he said, "you have quite a bit of documentation here. Can you summarize what you're asking for?" "Yes, Your Honor," I said. "I'm not asking for anything I didn't already pay. I covered the full rent and utilities on that apartment from August through May. During that time, Megan lived there full-time, brought in 2 additional roommates, and collected money from them. I'm asking that she reimburse me for her share of what I paid and the profits she made using my property without my permission." He nodded. "Did you ever explicitly give her permission to move in and sublet to others?" he asked. "No," I said. "I told her she could check on the place and crash sometimes. I have texts to that effect." I handed them over. He read. Then he looked at Megan. "Do you have any evidence that she agreed to let you use the apartment full-time without paying?" he asked. She opened her mouth, closed it, shook her head. "No," she said. He sighed. "Look," he said, "I understand that housing situations and friendships can be messy. But the law here is pretty clear. You benefited financially from living in and subletting the plaintiff's apartment without a formal agreement. She has the lease, the bills, and third-party statements backing up her story. You have Instagram posts." A few people in the gallery snickered. His gavel came down. "Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,412 plus $95 in court costs," he said. "Ms. Dawson, you have 60 days to begin making payments. If you fail to do so, the plaintiff may pursue wage garnishment." Megan stared at him, then at me. "You ruined my life," she hissed as we left. "Over some stupid bills." "No," I said quietly. "You ruined our friendship over some stupid decisions. The bills are just the receipt. Collecting the money wasn't instant. Small claims judgments rarely are." Megan dragged her feet. The first month, she sent $100 via court-ordered payment plan. The second, nothing. My cousin Sam helped me file for wage garnishment. Her employer was legally required to withhold a portion of her paycheck each week and send it to the court, which then sent it to me. Slowly, painfully, the balance shrank. $50 here, $80 there. It took over a year. But eventually, one day, I opened a plain white envelope from the clerk's office and found a check for the final $183. A sticky note was attached. Balance paid in full. I stared at it for a long time. Then I deposited it. And I cried. Not because I was happy to have the money, though I won't lie. It helped. I cried because it was over. Because the girl I'd shared friendship bracelets and late-night secrets with was now a line item in my budgeting app. Because I'd had to learn the hard way that sometimes, family is just a word people use when they want you to feel guilty for protecting yourself. Do I miss her? Sometimes. When something funny happens and my first instinct is to text her. When I walk past the old diner and remember us splitting pancakes at 2 a.m. When I find our 5th grade class photo and see 2 little girls who'd promised to be roommates forever. But then I remember the feeling of opening my electric bill and seeing it triple. Or watching her Instagram story of a party in my living room while I ate instant ramen in my dorm because I couldn't afford groceries that week. And I know I didn't lose a friend that day in court. I lost the illusion of one. I gained something else instead: a spine, a sense of boundaries, the understanding that helping someone doesn't have to mean setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. So yeah, my best friend secretly lived in my apartment while I was at college. She sublet my bedroom, threw parties in my living room, and pocketed the cash. So I did what she never expected the quiet, nice one to do. I kept receipts. I went to court, and I made her pay every penny back.